Hey everyone, welcome to a bonus episode of Long Story Short, the podcast. I'm Megan.
I'm Wendy.
Today we are discussing Don't Go Breaking My Heart, the second movie in the Hallmark Spring Fling series for 2021. This is a bonus episode, but our regular episodes drop every Tuesday. And this week we talked about the things we're ready to leave behind and the things we're kind of hoping stick around from this last year of lockdown. So go give that episode a listen if you haven't done that yet. And if you want more from us, you can hop into our Facebook group, Long Story Shorties, or follow us on Instagram where we are Megan and Wendy LSS.
And we love your emails, any feedback, or even if you want to argue with us about our impressions of these movies, you can reach us at meganandwendy@gmail.com.
Like we mentioned, this week's episode is Don't Go Breaking My Heart. And Wendy, do you have a synopsis?
I do. I am ready for it today. Miranda runs a boot camp for the recently brokenhearted. She begins to form a connection with new client Ben, who is also a reporter, investigating whether her boot camp is a fad or a phenomenon. Starring Italia Richie and Ryan Pavey.
News and notes.
I don't really have anything.
No. Oh, I have one thing. Again, of course, filmed in Canada, set in Portland. But one thing I would like to point out is Italia Richie, who is the star of this movie. She has a super fun and highly relatable Instagram, and I would recommend following her. I am enjoying her.
Fan-freaking-tastic. She was in Designated Survivor. Did you watch that show?
I watched the first season, and then I kind of dropped away. But then I saw that I think it was picked up as a Netflix series. Like it was dropped from network TV and then Netflix picked it up and continued it. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I only watched the first season. After that I didn't really watch it. I mean, we have real life politics happening. Why do I need to watch a real, politic, whatever going on?
I mean, hello, I love The West Wing. So
yeah, true. Okay, first impressions of this movie, Megan.
Man, I'm real torn about my first impressions of this movie.
No.
I thought it was. Well, when we get to what we liked, I'll tell you what I think was the best part about this movie. I thought it was okay. You loved it, and I know why too. Go ahead.
Liked it so very much. Yes.
Okay, let's jump into what we liked, because I think that, can I guess one of the things you loved about this movie?
Sure, go ahead.
When I was writing down what I liked, one thing I liked that I thought you would also like was all of the activities happening in the movie. The zip lining, the rock climbing, the escape room, that there's a lot going on, and I felt that kept the story moving at a really nice clip.
I would absolutely agree. Yes.
What else did you like about this movie?
Well, first of all, I loved Miranda. Italia Richie. Is that how you say her name? Italia?
That's how I would say it.
Okay. I thought she was so great as an actress. She wasn't like, sometimes I have a hard time watching these actors in these movies. Like, it's a struggle to believe them. I believed her as Miranda. I really enjoyed Ryan Pavey. So he was in that Christmas movie where it was a time travel and he came back from, like, I don't know. And he was a little stiff and weird, like, because his character was very, like, uncomfortable with being in 2020 or, current day or whatever.
Right.
So it was hard to see, like, I've never seen him in anything else besides that movie and this one. And I kind of thought he had the same kind of like cadence when he talked. And I was like, oh, maybe that's just who he is as an actor. So I wish he was like maybe a little bit more loose is the way that
I did want to like shake him a little bit. Like, yeah. Come on.
Right. Exactly. But I enjoyed him as well. And I find him very easy to look at. So that makes it so much easier to watch.
I agree with what you say about Italia Richie being very believable as Miranda. Like, I could see her on the morning shows talking about her breakup boot camp. 100% would have believed that. the news and note that we forgot is that this movie had a last-minute name change. It was originally called Breakup Boot Camp and was changed to Don't Go Breaking My Heart very close to the release date. I don't know what drives these decisions, but that did happen.
I think they should have kept it Breakup Boot Camp.
Me too.
Like, I don't understand why the name changed. Don't Go Breaking My Heart. Like, I just wish they did not change. Actually, I don't care that they changed the name of this movie, but I think Breakup Boot Camp would have been a perfectly fine name for this movie.
I agree. I think Don't Go Breaking My Heart centers it more on the action of the characters together as opposed to Miranda's specific business.
Yeah.
Right? Because Breakup Boot Camp isn't about Ben at all, even though he's in it. I don't know. Anyway, I can see the argument being made either way.
Let it be about Miranda and Miranda's business.
Right?
It's okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a mutual, like, story. It could be Miranda's story. It doesn't have to be Miranda and Ben's story.
Hey, I loved that this movie was really funny.
Okay. First of all, I wrote down, I loved some of the lines. Shout out to Nina Weinman for writing a script that includes conversations and lines that real people would actually be saying and having.
Yes, I liked the Ruth the cat with shared custody.
Oh my God, that was hilarious.
I liked when Miranda told Ben that a 9-year-old could take him while he was rock climbing. I just thought there was, and I think the characters, especially Miranda, she was really good at just kind of these dry, like throwaway lines that on their own, when you repeat them, aren't that funny. But I think I enjoyed her humor.
I absolutely agree. One of my favorite lines was when he's like telling Miranda how he met his ex-girlfriend's new guy. And he's like, he called me bro. And I almost died. I almost died. And I agree with you that Italia Richie was able to like sell these like kind of, like you said, dry lines, like with like her face and her expression and like just of who she was as a character. I loved it so much.
Do you have anything else that you liked?
Yes. I legitimately thought that these two had chemistry. This is a big sticking point for me. Like, I have a hard time investing in these like romantic comedies when I don't feel like there's any actual like sexual tension between like the two characters. Now, if I compare it to last week's, I felt that those two in that waterfall movie were ice cold. In this movie, I felt there was actual chemistry between the two characters, and I don't know if that's casting or if it's because these are two seasoned actors or what, but I very much felt it. Like when they were dancing and he dipped her and, you know, I was into it. I was also into the beautiful exterior shots of Portland. I've been to Portland many, many, many times. So I appreciated that they kind of showed some kind of like landmark things. The only thing is, though, of course, this was filmed in British Columbia. And they had all these scenes where they're like on the water. Yeah. And as many times, it felt more like Seattle than it did Oregon to me, because, yeah, I don't know. But whatever. If you've never been to Portland, Oregon, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't be any smarter, none the wiser, whatever the saying is.
I really liked that Miranda's Breakup Boot Camp business felt like a real thing that could exist. Sometimes these businesses and endeavors in these movies, you're like, how does this thing, like the Christmas museum that opens on Christmas Eve, like how is this thing a success? I felt like they really fleshed out the business really well to make it believable. Like they showed all of the steps, and I thought like I could totally see this being a thing. I thought they did a great job of not just creating the business, but making it believable and figuring out all the moving parts of it.
I absolutely agree. Because I was thinking, I was like, if I was ever like in a long-term relationship or not, you know, and ended up heartbroken, would I go to some sort of boot camp? Yes, I would, because that kind of like self improvement stuff kind of interests me. So yes, this could be and I'm sure it is probably a legitimate business.
Well, and I think they did a good job of connecting the activities to the message, right? They didn't make you guess, like, why are they doing this ropes course? And she's like, look how strong you are. Look how far you've come. You know, I just thought you could, you know, you could have felt that was silly. I thought it was great. I thought they did a good job of, it seemed like they had done their research into kind of the psychology of recovering from a breakup.
Right. And speaking of like the boot camp, the character who she goes, this is my second time taking it because apparently 6 weeks isn't enough for a 30-year marriage. And I was like, I'm dying. I'm dying. I loved it and thought it was totally believable. My last favorite thing was that they had a Shawn Mendes song at the end of the movie. Did you catch that?
I did not.
Yes. Okay. I know I've come on here week after week after week, and sometimes I shit on these Hallmark movies of being as fake movies, right? There was just something about this movie that made it feel like a real movie opposed to like a cheesy rom-com. And having a real song that is like a popular song right now being played in the movie made it feel like it was like I was watching a real movie that had like a budget behind it, and it wasn't just thrown together because they needed content for their spring fling lineup. So
yeah, and I think all of those activities, like going to the rock climbing gym, going to the ropes course, going to the escape room, I think all of that lent weight to the movie also, because they had to scout all of these locations. It wasn't like they took a store and they turned it into a B&B by making one corner a bedroom and one corner a living room and one corner the check-in area, right? Like they had to find all of these real locations, and I agree with you that all of those things add up to give this movie a little bit of weight.
Right.
Time for roadblocks placed in the way of our movie couple.
Okay, well, the biggest one is Ben's going to write an expose on her boot camp. And it felt very much like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. A little bit, which is one of my favorite movies. And every time it's on and I flip by it, I will stop and watch it. I really enjoy that movie. So obviously that was like a huge roadblock into like their budding relationship.
Yeah, I had, Ben doesn't really believe in Miranda's program.
Well, even at times, like he was jokingly calling it a cult, which I thought was quite funny.
And then I wrote, Ben has a bruised heart from a recent breakup, but does he really?
Right? He didn't seem to take it that hard when like she dumped him at the beginning of that movie.
Right. And then we learn later on that it's not really her that he's dealing with, but a past relationship.
Yeah,
where he almost got engaged. I just didn't really buy him as brokenhearted. I think he was kind of along for the ride, but
yeah, well, he was really there with, you know, at the ask of his sister, which I enjoyed. Like, this is what I like about when movies have, like, when characters have other people. Like, he had his sister, and Miranda had her business partner, and you know, there's greater conversations to be had, and it's not just like centered on like two people. So I enjoyed like the sister going through her, you know, breakup boot camp, and even the morning guy who was there.
Think.
Yes. I enjoyed that as well. I was invested in these characters, and that's what made me like it so much.
Well, you know what's funny is I think a lot of these movies have these side characters, and sometimes they struggle to give them a storyline, and they end up adding all of these other storylines, and there's too much to follow. Every single one of these side characters had a storyline that fed the main storyline.
Right.
And the puzzle pieces fit together so nicely that it wasn't like we had the sister and we had the business partner off doing their own thing. They all kind of worked together. And I think that's a skill that a good writer can do, and not everybody is a great writer, as we've seen in some of these movies. Like, they know we need to have these supporting characters, but we can't quite figure out how to give them a role that serves the story, and they did a great job in this one.
I agree. Did you have any other roadblocks?
I did not. What did you wish for?
I wished for and this is just kind of a side note, but I liked how it was handled. In these movies, I do not want people to fall in love so quickly, right? She is a divorcee, right? And he was almost engaged. Like, so they're like of a certain age. They're not like 20-year-olds who are going to fall in love in 1 week. You know, there's baggage and there's concern and boundaries and whatever. So I just wish that like characters don't like be like, yes, I'm in love with you. And I thought it was handled in this movie pretty well. Like they were like, we're friends. And he's like, did you friend zone me? And like, you know, so like they knew how to like, you know, stay friendly, but they did have like romantic feelings for it. So, but in the end, like, I just don't love when they're like, yes, you're my new boyfriend. So I think I wished for like maybe not like a love story, even though this is what these movies are.
Yeah, a little more build up. Like they're just figuring it out.
Now, I do like at the end how, especially in this movie, how they're like 3 months later, you know? So like it looks like, okay, yes, we're taking some time and now here's where we're at.
Yes.
That was a lot to be said, but what did you wish for?
I wished that Ben had shown that he felt a little bit more conflicted about writing this article.
Oh, yeah.
He clearly knew that it could potentially be a problem based on the conversations he had with his boss. And then when Miranda shows up at his work and he gives his boss like the very obvious, like, don't say anything to her eyes. But in none of his interactions with Miranda, you know, sometimes they show that by like she walks away and they make like a confused, frustrated face. You know, like he feels like, oh, maybe I'm having this great time with her. She trusts me and I'm going to betray that. And I don't feel that I ever got the feeling that he felt particularly bad about the consequences and what he was doing.
Right. And then, of course, he ends up writing like a glowing review of her boot camp. It's funny, as like somebody, me, who writes, I also write from like a pessimistic viewpoint on things. And I can see like how, you know, he's writing because that's what's going to get read. He's not writing like a glowing review of something. So yes, they should have showed him being more conflicted. Like he has feelings for this girl and her boot camp is working. So how am I going to write an expose about it? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I honestly thought she forgave him too quickly. And I know the movie has to end, but I thought it was pretty shady what he was doing. And whether he, you know, he didn't go in with that intention, but he had plenty of opportunity to say, hey, my boss found out I'm here and they'd like me to write an article. I know it kind of, I don't know. I thought it was shady. And as much as I wanted them to end up together, a lot of times I feel like there's manufactured drama in these movies. Yeah. I felt like this was real drama, and I didn't like that he had done that.
Yeah, because, you know, what would have been cool is if she found out and was like, look, dude, this is going to like ruin my reputation, my livelihood. Like, you know, he just couldn't believe that there was so much success from it. So yeah, I understand. I agree. I think that would have been an interesting part of the story if they would have expanded a little bit more on that.
Yeah. How about, did you see that?
Okay, I only have one huge one.
Yeah.
And it was the Noom sign.
Yes. Top of my list.
I fully like had to rewind it because I was like, is that actually a Noom sign? And then I was like, I wonder if that's just there in the place that they're shooting and that's coincidence. And then, of course, here comes the commercial.
Yeah, no way.
That was really funny.
Yes.
But kind of interesting though, because the Noom program is not just like a diet program. It's like a psychology program, like the psychology of eating, which goes very well with the theme of the movie. You know, I thought it was good product placement, actually.
That's a good point. I had a couple others. When Ben and Miranda run into Ben's ex, Jennifer, I believe is her name. And she goes, this isn't what it looks like. We're just going to lunch. And I was like, who cares?
Right.
You guys are broken up. You're not naked. I don't understand
Totally.
why they were so awkward. I mean, I could understand. It's still awkward, but all you just say is, I don't know, hi, and that's the end of it. There's no, this isn't what it looks like.
Well, Ben was with a woman, too. And you didn't hear him say, like, this is not what it looks like, you know? Yeah, that was funny. I agree.
When Ben meets Miranda for the first time at the valet stand, Miranda goes, do you want to talk about it? And I thought, no way. You're not asking that question to the dude at the valet stand.
I get it. What I appreciated about that scene is that they looked like they were in front of like a real restaurant. And if anybody knows anything about Portland, it's like a super foodie city. So like I like that they were like at like what looked like a cool looking restaurant type place. But yeah, like to get into this full on conversation, like she was like head shrinking him or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know. I kind of did like how they organically met because you never saw her in the restaurant.
Right.
So I liked the direction the movie took in that kind of scene, in that scene.
In the rock climbing gym, is Miranda tying her own climbing knots?
I think she was.
I was very impressed.
I mean, I don't know anything about rock climbing.
Neither do I.
I thought it was very funny how she was giving him so much crap about because he couldn't like get up. It would take me an hour to scale that wall. So let's just be honest.
But when they switch walls and he goes to the second wall and he's like, I'm done. His foot is literally hovering directly above a step. Like he could have got, like all he had to do was put his foot down. He could have gone up a little bit more, but he's like, can't do it.
Yeah. It's not like he was not fit. Like he is a fit man. Naturally, he could have easily pulled himself up on this wall. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if you noticed, and this is just, it just hits me in the heart of wanting to own my own little coffee cart or hot dog stand.
Yes.
Those things were so cute. I want a hot dog stand in my neighborhood. I want an outdoor coffee stand that I can just walk up to.
Yeah.
Do these things exist?
Well, they're in the middle of the city. I mean, they exist in the middle of a city.
Do they? So, like, if I go to Los Angeles, will those things be there?
I mean, there's street meat. I don't know if you want to eat, but yeah, there's hot dog carts.
I enjoy street meat in New York, so.
As do I.
Okay.
As do I.
Don't be trying to shame me with the street meat.
It always smells amazing.
I know. You're right. There are hot dog stands in Los Angeles that you can
like
buy
if you've ever left the Hollywood Bowl, you can smell the street meat stands as you're leaving.
I know. Didn't we buy a hot dog in New York from a truck? We did.
I'm sure we did. I
think
definitely had a hot dog in New York from a truck.
But I just want it to be cute. I want food, but cute, you know? And I want it in my city. So
yeah, at the end of your street that you can just walk to.
Yes. Like, honey, let's go for a walk and like pick up a hot dog and a latte. I don't know. Anyway.
A hot dog and a latte. That
sounds awful. I know. It sounds awful. How about a hot dog and a iced coffee? That still sounds terrible.
I would. What else do I have? Okay, they talk about the fine print several times, and even Ben's boss brings it up to him. But does that ever play out?
Never. No.
I didn't think so, and I wonder if that's just something that got cut, where maybe there was something where, like, you don't discuss the specifics of her program.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
As a participant, but I thought it was interesting that they made such a big deal out of it more than once. And the last thing I have is that Dex, Miranda's ex-husband, is a little intense. Like, she likes his photo, and he's like, we need to talk.
Yeah, that was super weird. Because did they ever say how long they had been divorced?
I didn't track it if they did.
Well, she's, like, totally creeping on his Instagram and then accidentally hits, like, you know, the heart or whatever. But, yeah, the phone call, like, we need to talk. Well, he just needed to tell her that he was getting married, but still, it was intense,
right.
Like
it does pan out to be a real reason, but, like, he shows up at her work and he keeps calling her. And I was like, dude, slow your roll. Like, it's just a like. Come to find out he wanted to be the one to tell her he was getting married, which I appreciated.
Right.
And I like that she got to have that moment of like, oh, I'm actually just happy for you. So what did you rate this movie?
Okay, like I told you last week, I am rating these movies in the spring fling canon only, and Don't Go Breaking My Heart gets 3.5 stars.
Whoa, I give it 3.
I liked it so very much.
Well, that makes me happy.
I just thought it was different. It just felt like a different movie. It didn't follow the same kind of patterns, but it did. I don't know. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Can we talk about One Perfect Wedding?
Okay.
It is a trilogy. This is the third in a series. I've never seen the other two, obviously. Do you know what the other two are? The two other movies are One Winter Weekend and Winter Proposal. And now we have One Perfect Wedding.
All right, guys, we'll be back next week. Of course, on Tuesday, we have our regular podcast episode. And then Thursday, we'll be here to discuss One Perfect Wedding, the third movie in Hallmark Spring Fling, and also the third movie in a trilogy. So we will list those movies in the show notes if you feel like catching up on the first two before the final movie. It would be smart if they aired them like one right after another.
Right.
But we may be going into this one blind. Who knows? So it will be interesting to see our thoughts on this movie, considering we are not experts on the previous two movies. So come back for that. If you have thoughts on any of these movies, please email us, meganandwendy@gmail.com. And as always, we love ratings and reviews. So if you have some nice things to say, give us a 5-star rating, leave a review. It helps us out a lot. Until next time, everybody, have a great week.
Goodbye.